Hi everyone! So this is part 2 of this tutorial. If you haven't seen part 1, I will link it down in the description, as well as all the supplies that I'm using, and I went over them in part 1 as well. So we're just going to jump right into it, and I'm going to start with that Madder Brown 1920, and I'm just going to start laying this over where we had put it before. I just want to make our chocolate a little bit smoother, and that's going to make our highlights of the chocolate pop even more. Now I'm being fairly rough again with the laydown of this, and that's just because we've already got a layer down underneath. And we can get, a little bit smoother of a blend. But because this is a water-based medium, and it is ink, depending how you blend it out, you may end up getting some harsh edges, or, some little areas that don't blend out completely. But I don't mind that because it just lends to sort of the look of a watercolor type product or an ink type product. Doesn't have to be completely smooth. Now, if you want it to be completely smooth, then you can be a little more careful with your application and with your blending, but I sort of like that aspect of it. And I'm not necessarily going over top of all of the areas here. I'm just picking the areas that are a little bit more dull, where we sort of blended them out before we lost some of that color. So I'm sort of just filling that color back in there. Now at this point, if you like the way it looks without blending it out, you don't have to necessarily go and blend it out, but that's probably what I'm going to do. And I did split this tutorial into 2 parts because I didn't want it to be too long, and it is really hard to upload one video that's really long versus 2 videos that are, about an hour or so long, so an hour to an hour and a half. I try to keep my real-time tutorials to that length. That way it's not too long to process them. Okay. So then I'm going to take that dark chocolate, 1930, and again, I'm just going to put this in some of the areas that I see are a little bit darker. And I'm not pushing very hard at all. I'm just sort of glazing with this color. Very light pressure, especially where we've already got some color on. You don't need a whole lot at this point. Now I see a little bit of darkness right up against this highlight here. just being messy and putting this color where I feel I see it. And I might even just lightly go around these highlight edges again, just so I can darken up the edges a little bit more of some of these. And again, I'm pushing very, very lightly here, like just barely grazing over the paper. And I'm just realizing now that I've missed a little piece of the chocolate part here, so we're just going to sketch this in. And it just goes about kind of like this. And a little spot here, and then it kind of goes up, sort of like in a curve. And around, something like that. So we'll put that in now. That's why you always want to be checking your reference photo. Sometimes I just get caught up in putting the colors down and I, end up just doing my own thing and forget to check the reference photos. So even I do that. So there's a tip for you guys. Okay. So I'm going to go on top with the mustard now, the 1700, and I'm going to fill in our seeds again. Okay, and then I'm going to take this crimson 0530, and I'm actually going to darken this highlight up just a bit. And we can still go over top with our white after if we need to, but I just want to tone this down a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to take that poppy red, the 0400, and I'm going to just start laying it in any areas where I see, it's a little patchier. I'm going to put this color in because I really want to start bringing out some of that brightness. And I'm just going to lay it over top of a lot of our strawberry here. So around our seeds, down here too. And up here. And because we've already got color down underneath, I don't have to be super precise. I'm being kind of messy. And I'm going to go around these ones. And I'm going to fill in over here a little bit too. And I'm going to start bringing it up into the dark area just a bit. There. And then I'm going to take that Carmine Pink 0520. And again, I'm going to start just going in and adding it where I see it. Mostly starting to add it in this area here. And I don't want to lose all of that brightness that we've started to add. But laying all these colors down are just going to help them all blend together and make it look cohesive. So again, I'm going to go around these ones, and I'm pushing a bit harder here at this point, medium to hard pressure. And then as we get towards the more darker areas, I'm going to switch back to that Shiraz 0600, and I'm going to use this to lay in those dark areas around our seeds. And I'm just going to get this color down on the bottom, just where the strawberry meets that chocolate there. And again, just around here in the darker areas. And like I said, I'm being pretty quick because this is our second layer. I've already got my main colors down. I know where I'm putting these colors, so it can be a little bit quicker. So I think I'm going to go ahead and blend everything out again. And then we'll just come back on top with our highlights. And I'm not going to touch the leaves right now because I like how those are looking. I'll just come back and do maybe a couple highlights for them. I'm actually just going to add some of this darker color just right in here too. Right here, I just want to darken these couple of areas up before I blend them out. Okay. And just a little too much water there. So I hope you can see this is just getting a little bit smoother, but we're still getting some little watermarks and stuff. So I quite like that. It's just sort of punching up all the colors that we have going on. I'm just extending this highlight a little bit if I can. And then I can always go over top of it with the white anyway. Okay. And I'm going to do the same thing starting in here. I'm going to just go ahead and blend everything out smoothly. And then I'll try to blend our seeds last. And I do that just because if any color gets over top of the seeds, we can always wipe it off a little bit. So I'm going to avoid this highlighted area for now. And I'm still being a little bit sloppy in my blending because I do want to keep some of that unevenness in this picture. If I wanted something completely smooth, you know, with a lot of detail, I would choose colored pencils, you know, over this. So I do like to keep a little bit of that graininess. With the medium. And I'm just coming through with a little bit more water, just to really get that brightness there. And now I'm going to start coming into this area. I'm going to go around our seeds first, and then I'll get the highlight. And I'm going to go over top here. Just to help blend this in. And just tone it down a little bit. And then I'm going to blend into those darkest areas that we laid down here. Kind of save that seed a little bit there. And I'm just softening these highlights just slightly. We didn't put any more pigment down, but just using whatever I had on the brush. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead and let that dry, and we will come back and just add some final touches to it, and then this tutorial will be done. Okay, so now that our strawberry is completely dry, I have a couple options here that we can use. I'm going to use the Derwent Inktense White, which is 2300, but I've also got my Caran d'Ache Luminance White because this is pretty opaque as well. So if I find that this isn't laying down that great, I can switch to a opaque colored pencil, and I would say use a wax-based one, as the oil-based ones might not lay on top. They wouldn't be as opaque. They're great for details on certain things like fur and stuff, but where we want a nice opaque highlight, that might not work. I also have a little piece of the Derwent Inktense block here. The only one that I have is the white, and this is very opaque. So if I needed something to be white, and I wanted it to keep it in the Inktense range instead of using a colored pencil or something else, then I would use that. And if you don't care about archivalness or keeping it Inktense or whatever, you could always go on top with a gel pen. That's going to work just as well. Maybe even better, because you'll get a really bright highlight. So I'm going to go over top of this highlight here and just sort of blend it and bring out just a little bit more white of the highlight. And having our bright highlights and our darker values is really going to give this the shininess that we want, and that's going to add to the realism of our piece. Now here it's a little less white, so I'm just going to lightly go over top of it where we lost a little bit of that color. And I'm just really, you know, watching the reference photo. I'm trying to keep looking at it, just making sure I'm not missing any areas. And I'm just going to lightly go over here in a couple of spots. So there's like a little glint of highlight to the upper spots of all of these areas here. Okay, and then I think I am going to switch to my Caran d'Ache Luminance pencil. And this is going to give me these really brighter highlights that I want here. So we've got sort of a small little highlight on one side and a bigger highlight on the other side for these ones. I think I might actually use the Inktense block for some of this here. And I'll just go over these ones a little bit. Just create some light highlights. And I think for the rest of that, we'll use the block. And then here, I'm going to go back to the Inktense white, because this is a really good blender too. So I'm going to start from the center here and just blend out. To sort of create that highlight. Now this is where I really like using this because it really blends and creates some nice looking highlights when you have a base layer down already. Now again, you could use colored pencil for this if you wanted to. And then where I want it a little bit darker, I'm just not going to go over as much, but I just want to blend the area out just slightly. And I'm not pressing hard at all. And it's just helping to get rid of some of this graininess that we have in the highlight areas. And I might use the Inktense block for some of this as well, because there's just a couple spots there that are a little bit shinier. So I'm going to push just a little bit harder where I want those brighter areas here. And I'm just blending out any harsh edges that I see. Not really harsh edges, but just any areas where I need to smooth it out more. Now for this to work, of course, you do need a little bit of pigment underneath. And then again, I'm just going to glaze over the top of the areas that I just want to blend. Just a little bit, so not completely get rid of. So it might look like I'm pressing hard, but I'm really not. I'm just letting the weight of the pencil do the work. And here where it's a little bit brighter right in the middle, I am pushing a little bit harder, like a medium. pressure. And I'm just looking at a couple of areas that I need to make just a little bit lighter and brighter. Okay. So I think I'm going to go ahead and use this little Inktense block here. This is the white one. And I'm just going to use this for a little bit of my brightest highlights. So I'm going to go along here. And you really don't need much of this. Just making some little dots here, making it look a little shiny. And then I'm going to get a good amount on my brush, and I'm going to start just putting in our brightest highlights. And I hope you can see just how opaque this comes out compared to the pencils. And this is why I really, really want to get the set of the Inktense blocks. I've just been waiting for them to go on sale. Yeah, and these work a lot better for the highlights here. So again, use whatever you have available. If if you're doing this in a sketchbook like this, you can use a gel pen. Depends what your goal is for this piece. And I'm just wiping my brush off when I think I might be lifting up some of those colors underneath. And I don't want to put these highlights just willy-nilly either. I want to put them where I see them. And I'm just going to blend out any spots where got a little much. Just to kind of shape these highlights a little bit better. There. I like how that's turning out. And I'm just going to go ahead and do just a couple. You know what, I might use the colored pencil for this because I don't want it to be opaque, super opaque, but just a couple little lighter areas in here. Just some little lines just to show some texture on these leaves. There. So I think I like how that's looking. Now, usually I sign my pieces somewhere over on the right hand bottom side, but because we had this little smudge here, I'm gonna go ahead and sign right in that area, and my signature takes up about that much space. So I'm gonna just kind of do my little N and my little C. And I like to use a fine liner to get it down. And then what I can do is go over top of it with an Inktense pencil. So I'm going to go ahead and sharpen this just a little bit. And this just sort of gives me a guide. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in here. And then now that I've got that down, I can take the brush, and I want it to be fairly dry, and I'm just going to go over top. And I'm just getting any extra water out as I need it. And that's how I like to do my signature, and then it covers that spot up a little bit. All right, so I hope you guys really enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please give a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, make sure you subscribe for more tutorials in the future. Let me know what kind of mediums you want to see, and thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye.